I call Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr Chair. It's a pleasure to rise and speak on the committee stages of the Animal Welfare Amendment Bill. I am pleased to speak on this because, first of all, Labor is supporting it, and it's good to speak on a bill where we actually can be positive about what's occurring in Parliament, because we frequently find that that's not the case under this government. But I also am pleased to rise and speak on it because I consider myself an animal lover. I've been around animals all my life, brought up on a dairy farm and actually a little place in the Waikato by the name of Walton. And that's probably the only thing that the Honourable Judith Collins and I share in common. So have had both animals that we have relied on for our family income involved in my life right from the very start, and also household pets, and also with my association with the horse racing industry, been involved in animal welfare from that perspective as well. So this is an issue that is actually very close to my heart. And so I would at the outset say that it does concern me, because I don't rise and speak to too many bills where, when we're talking about the commencement part of the bill, where this bill talks about quite a number of sections coming into reality 5 years after the date that the Act receives royal assent. And it concerns me that quite a number of sections, I think it actually refers to sections 4, 5, 10, 12, 13, 16, 20, 22, 25, 45 and 57, it could take 5 years before they come into force. And wasn't on the select committee, so I'm not familiar with the details of those sections, but I'd be interested to hear from the Minister about why that particular time period has been named in the commencement clauses of this bill, because, as I say, it's very unusual. Mostly when we are debating bills and giving priority to those bills by the use of parliamentary time, it's because we want those bills to take effect immediately. That's normally what we're doing. I will, however, note that I do want to speak strongly in favour of the SOP put in by my colleague, the Honourable Trevor Mallard, because his SOP actually speaks to that issue. It is ensuring that the mistreatment of animals that will be banned or outlawed by the piece of legislation that we are passing is going to be a reality inside of 7 years, not the possibility of 15 years that the bill in its current form allows. So it does actually allow for up to 10 years before these practices become completely outlawed or banned, and then has the provision of another 5 years as I guess a little bit of fat in the system as well. And it seems alarming to me that if we're dedicating parliamentary time to this debate right here, right now in the year 2015, why we would find it acceptable that some of these practices could continue until the year 2030 or beyond, depending on when royal assent is actually given for this bill. So it seems to me that there appears to be a lack of urgency from the government benches about how soon they want to make sure that these practices disappear. From the Labor side of the Parliament, we're clear about this, that it should not take anywhere near 15 years to be able to actually get rid of the mistreatment of animals that that this bill is actually designed around getting rid of. That 7 years is well long enough and easily adequate for those practices to change. So I would challenge the Minister and his colleagues to give us the justification about why such a long period would be in fact needed. And I think probably it may well be because the government underestimates the ability of those involved in deriving their livelihoods from animals to actually be nimble and to change their practices in a shorter period of time. I think it tells us quite a lot about how the government feels about those who rely on animals for their income, that they think they're slow to respond. And that's why they are giving this extraordinary amount of time for these practices to change. So I would very much like some comment from the government benches on that issue. I noticed that the bill in 30C protects the hunting of wild animals in hunting and safari parks, Mr Chair.
Sue Moroney.
And I'd be interested to know, because maybe this is a piece of local information, local to New Zealand that is, that I'm unaware of, but I'd like to know from the Minister where the safari parks are that this would actually apply to, because it's not actually it's just not something I've been involved in. I haven't booked myself into a safari park to go and hunt and kill animals in New Zealand, and so I'm really quite unsure as to where 30C actually applies to. So if the Minister could let us know about that. I'd really prefer that he didn't do it in a way where it was an advertisement for that one safari park that might exist in New Zealand that has escaped my attention, but I would be interested to know where that actually does occur. I do, though, want to note that the bill does outlaw, and so it should, the killing of animals in a wild setting. It doesn't actually use that phrase, but this it may, I'm sure it does cover moa, but the issue that I really do want to, because it's a very serious issue, the one that sticks in my mind that I believe this bill will deal with was that shocking incident where the seals were clubbed to death. And it's a very, very important thing that we do make sure that we've got a piece of legislation that does address that issue, not just because animal welfare is important to our economy and to our export sector, not just because of that, but because it's the right thing to do. And in that instance, when those seals were killed just for pure entertainment, it appeared, of a few young men, that is something that the entire nation, I think, found completely distasteful. I do want to draw a link, because I've been thinking about why it is that the mistreatment of animals is so abhorrent to us. And yes, it is abhorrent in its own right, but there is a lot of research that now backs up the assertion that people who will be cruel to animals will be equally cruel to humans as well. There's a very strong link between those who find it entertaining to be cruel to a defenceless creature that can't fight back, and those who will hurt children. Those who will actually. There's a strong link between those who commit offences against animals and who are involved in domestic violence at home as well. So I didn't want to sit down from this debate without making sure that we drew that link, that this is an important bill in its own right, but it's also equally important because it relates to how we interact with each other as people as well. Thank you.
I call the Honourable Nathan Guy.